Welcome back. I'll start by making the view a little bigger so you can have a better perspective. Okay? Now, we are looking at our empty workbook. A workbook can contain one or more worksheets. For example, this workbook so far contains one empty worksheet, but we can add more as needed. In Excel, I simply click the plus icon and add worksheets. I can rename them by double-clicking and even drag them to organize in different order. The difference between a workbook and a worksheet is that a worksheet is a single page where you can write, edit, and manipulate data. A workbook is the collection of one or more worksheets. The worksheet is made up of a grid of columns and rows. If I click on D, I'm selecting the D column. If I click on 6, I'm selecting the row 6. If I select any individual spot in the grid, this is called a cell. You'll note that a cell is selected by smart borders. If I click on the cell where the column D and the row 6 intersect, I can specifically say that I'm on cell D6. If you look at the name box, you'll notice that it tells you the name of the cell you are located. You can also select multiple cells by click and drag as much as needed. This is known as cell range. When you refer to cell ranges, you do it by using the first and last cell in the range. For example, I'm going to click on C3 and drag to H11. In writing, it's represented by adding a column between your first and last cell. In this case, C3, column H11. Now, let's look at some general cell navigation. Having a cell selected, if you press Enter, you'll start going down in the column. If you press Enter plus Shift, it will take you up in the column. By pressing the Tab key, you'll navigate to the right in a row. As you can anticipate, by pressing Tab plus Shift, will move you to the left in a row. It's pretty simple. Now, obviously, you can also use your mouse and cursor to select a cell, or you can use your arrow keys in your keyboard. Now that we have some basics of a workbook, we'll use a business scenario that involves Jamie, a marketing manager in a software company. The CEO of the company wants to start planning the budget for next year, so every department head needs to provide a budget. So we're going to help Jamie by building the budget. Now, typically, you will start on the first cell, which by now you know is called A1. Let's add a title. With the cell selected, type marketing budget. There you go, that looks good. We'll worry about the styling later on, adding colors, fonts, and all that. For now, we'll focus on building the basic structure of the budget. Now, keep in mind that any information you enter into a worksheet will be stored in a cell. Each cell can contain different data types, such as text, numbers, and dates, but also formatting attributes, formulas, and functions. We'll look at the characteristics of each one later on during the course. For now, pay particular attention to the formula bar. The name box tells you what cell you are working on, and the formula bar shows you the data or content in the cell. Whatever you enter in a cell appears in the formula bar. For example, I'm going to add a table header to the budget and call it expenses. In this case, I want to go one or two cells down to A3, just to leave some space, but that's personal preference. You can do it anywhere in the worksheet. I'll type expenses, and you'll notice that what I type in the cell appears up in the formula bar too. And vice versa. If I type in the formula bar, it will appear in the selected cell. The idea is that underneath the expenses, we'll list all the expenditures in Jamie's plan for next year. I'm going to keep it short and simple, just to illustrate the example. Feel free to follow me exactly, or to add your own list of expenditures so you can implement what you're learning into your real-world scenarios. Okay, so I'm going to click on Enter to go to the cell below and write print ads. Then press enter again and online ads. Next, content SEO. Then trade shows. Social media, webinars, demo videos, and we'll finish with white papers. As mentioned, feel free to add more or your own list to this example. Okay, this is starting to take shape. However, Jamie just called, and apparently the boss prefers to use promo instead of demo in regards to the videos. Also, there won't be white papers, but we should include website improvements in the budget. Okay, so following orders, we need to modify A10 and A11. There are two ways to edit content in Excel. To illustrate the first method, I'll use A10. We can edit in the cell itself. To edit in the cell, we'll need to double-click on it. If I simply select the cell and start typing, my entry won't edit the content, but replace it. So, to avoid this, double-click on it and you'll notice that now you can modify it instead. The second method involves selecting the cell and writing in the formula bar. It's a little more cumbersome in this example, but keep it in mind because when we start working with long sentences or formulas, you may need this space. In this case, I type websites and press enter. This is a good start. To avoid losing our work, let's save it. We can do that different ways. As this is the first time saving the document, we'll need to give it a name and select a place where to save it. So, either by clicking in the Save icon in the Quick Access toolbar, which will take us to the Save As page to name it and find the spot, or I'll go back to the workbook by pressing the arrow, and we can use File and then Save As. It's pretty much the same. However, once saved, the next time we click on Save, it won't send us to this screen, but save it directly. Or, hold on, a third option which I prefer. I'll go back to the workbook first. We can go to our Quick Access toolbar, go down to More Commands, and from the pop-up window select Save As. Click Add. Hit OK and close the window. Now you'll see that a new icon for Save As has been added to the Quick Access toolbar. If this is the first time I'm saving a document and I click on it, it will pop up a window right here where I can name it and find where to save my document, so I don't have to go back and forth to the other screen. Okay, so I'm going to be naming it Marketing Budget, but you can name it any way you prefer and save it. Great, so let's leave it here. We learned about the structure of a workbook, how to navigate the worksheet, and did some data entry and editing for our sample budget. Plus, we learned how to save the document. So, well done for your first hands-on session. In the next one, we'll continue working on the budget while learning about data types and working with numerical data. I'll also show you methods to replicate data entry that will help you save time while working in Excel.